Alright, y'all. Hello and welcome back to more incredible European architecture, and we'll dabble into just kind of architecture around the world towards the end. I'm pretty pumped for this. I wanted to do another episode of this as soon as possible, and somehow, I swear time is flying, it has been 5 months since I did the first episode, which doesn't sound right. I thought it had been like 2 months. Anyhow, finally doing this, and we're going to take a look at some of the comments that you left on that last video, and of course some of your suggestions, and then get into whatever else we can find. This should be a fun one. All right, our next comment was about this part in a video that I featured on the first episode, and these are these two leaning towers of Bologna or something like that in Italy. Beautiful area, and I was commenting how these are so interesting, and sure enough, you guys had some cool context for this as well. Fun fact about those towers of Bologna: it is believed that the construction of these towers was merely a flexing competition between two powerful families. There was a lot more towers, but I believe they all collapsed at some point, these two being the only two remaining, and the danger of collapsing as well. So I always think it's funny when you find like a significant place or artifact or building or whatever it is, and you get an interesting backstory, and I imagine that happens quite a bit in big and small towns all throughout, of course, anywhere in the world, but especially Europe. I can picture that. It's like family kind of feuds happening or rivalries between certain people in a town, or, like sibling rivalries. Wasn't Adidas or Adidas and Puma, those are two huge world like sportswear or clothing companies. Didn't that basically start out because of a feud between two German brothers, I think, right? Okay, so thank you to R. Papova. I'm going to heart your comment. Things to check out for the next video: Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, which I believe I have seen because that's so famous, but we're going to check it out together, and we'll check out all these. So that's search Google. Oh my goodness. Let's go to this screen. Go to images. That is indeed epic. I have seen this before. It is, not in person, but, because it's so famous, I've seen pictures of it. I would probably be speechless in person. Look at that. That is absolutely unbelievable. And that, I mean that as a compliment. Like, I just can't believe it. It's interesting to see a modern picture, by the way. I guess it's kind of a telling of, age, right? Like, this thing is still standing and looking that powerful, looking that beautiful and interesting, right? For lack of better words. And that you have modern cranes right there. And to see, modern tools and then that old ancient architecture is just kind of a wild combo. Yeah, the interior is equally stunning. I mean, geez. Dare I say, and I mean this as a compliment as well, it's almost like intimidating. It's so big, and it's got this unbelievable presence to it. And this is in pictures. I know this would be even more epic in person. The size would be that much more incredible in person. It's really hard to capture that, in my opinion, with pictures. Doing photography in the past, I feel like things always look a certain way in person, and then you photograph it and you think it's going to look great. And then when you review the photos on a computer, they still might look good, but it doesn't look like how it was in real life. So there's some sort of thing that tends to be lost or dimmed down a little bit. And the fact that this thing looks this amazing on camera really shows how epic it must be in person. I mean, look at this shot. This is incredible. And to be fair, as far as I know, we do have some pretty impressive cathedrals and older churches and stuff here in the U.S., but this is on another level. I could safely say I can't go within a pretty small radius around me and find anything like this. My mind can't comprehend how this was even built. It's just too much intricate detail and size to even comprehend. All right, so that was awesome. We have, they suggested the Cologne Cathedral. Let's look up that next. Wow, this is absolutely stunning as well. This is in Cologne, Germany. This was, construction started, I love this. This is how you know you're not looking at the U.S. Construction started August 15th. I love how they have the date. August 15th, 1248. Let me repeat that. August of 1248. Yeah, that's some history. Okay, the images are absolutely gorgeous. Take a look. This is very impressive. I don't know that I've seen this one as much. This Sagrada Familia is very famous, so I have seen that just, I'm sure, in dozens of different medias over the years. This, I'm not exactly sure if I have. This is absolutely stunning. Great scale again. Maybe not as large, but really, really big, especially considering its surrounding environment, right? I mean, these are not small buildings over here, but they look minuscule compared to that. These kind of, I don't know if you would call those spires. Remember, I'm not like an architecture major, so I might get the names of things wrong, so bear with me, but things go really up far, and they have like a really sharp appearance. It's actually kind of interesting. I noticed that's like a theme with older architecture too, that you don't see, modern buildings seem to be really either round and kind of artsy or like square and rectangular, and they don't usually have these elements that go up and up and up to a point like that. That seems to be something more exclusive, at least, on average, to older structures like this. I mean, look at how tall that extends, right? You have like the bulk of the structure here, but then look at how tall these go up to the sky. I wonder what the purpose of that was. I think it's very interesting and definitely makes for a cool aesthetic. It's definitely stands out, and maybe that's all it was for. Look at that shot, looking kind of right up against it and looking up. Gives you a great sense of scale, makes it look really big, but more so shows kind of the intricacies. Again, I just can't believe that so long ago they were able to do this stuff. It's one of those things I just can't comprehend. And I mean that in the best way. I just don't get it. It's so cool and it's so impressive. And the heights, like how did they get up there and do this stuff? How did they carve this stuff out and make it look that good? How did they mold these shapes? How does everything line up? It seems to be very correct, right? The math, the angles, the symmetry. Things seem to be centered where they're supposed to be centered. Like they really got it right. It's like the attention to detail was through the roof. It was off the charts. And as far as I know, they didn't have huge cranes and big trucks and all this stuff, 700, 800 years ago. So how did they do it? The next suggestion they have is the Duomo in Florence. All right, let's search for that. Oh, wow. Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. Oh, this is pretty cool as well. Take a look. Dang, that is impressive. Again, I love the way these cities look. I mean, it's in a valley of the hills and mountains in the distance. Just adds to, the awe of this place. Look at it lit up. That looks incredible. Totally different aesthetic than the last couple we've seen, but equally beautiful, right? I mean, look at that. Oh, wow. Look at that inside. That's got to be where the main draw is. It looks great from the outside. Don't get me wrong. But look at the inside of this. That is unbelievable. That has depth to it. And it just seems to spiral up forever. Wow, how did they do that? That is incredible. Again, art, painting, anything of the sort, I just admire something, I feel like to only a small extent you can teach, but when it comes to this level and, amazing detail and drawing ability and scale, you can't really teach it. You're kind of either born with it or not, and I definitely don't have it. Right, next up in the suggestions, we have City Hall and the Philharmonie of Hamburg. I believe this would be in Germany then. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. This is very interesting. Maybe more of a modern one, I believe. Take a look at this. Wow. That is cool. I have never seen this. So some of these, it's like, oh, yeah, I've heard of this or seen this. This I have not ever seen. Look at it lit up at night. It's really cool if it can look good during the day and look different, but equally as good at night, right? It almost has a different aesthetic here, but it looks stunning still. Look at it from that angle. Look, like, wow. I'm assuming this is much more modern. And like I said, I do appreciate modern architecture as well. Yeah, this is really cool. I've definitely never seen it. Tell me if you've seen this in person. Maybe you've attended some sort of concert or something here. And being a, Philharmonic hall, I'm sure it's got some science built into it. on acoustics. And, you know, here's a look inside, right? Wow. That is a cool setting. That looks like something from a movie, almost like a futuristic movie or something, right? That is wild. Yeah, I imagine there's some science in here with sounds and acoustics and all that kind of stuff. All right, next up on the suggestions, we have the Prague Cathedral. Oh, wow. Saint Vitus or Saint Vitus Cathedral in Prague. Of course, Czech Republic. Let's go ahead and take a look. First impressions. Wow. Again, unbelievable details on here. And this thing looks solid as can be. Love the contrast with the roof color, that green, and then, of course, the natural colors below. There's a good angle of it right there. You can kind of see that, again, the glasswork, these intricate designs here. I love the circles and, you know, circular theme, right, you know, front and center. Unbelievable. Take a look inside. Yeah, that is beautiful. So grand, right? That's the first word that comes to mind is grand. Just huge inside. Look at these columns. The stained glass is just awesome. The way the light, you know, hits it and gets let in, it's so colorful and so intricate. Yeah, this is another one easily I would love to see in person. I mean, just, it's great. That's a cool shot of it. You have, again, it in the foreground, and in the background, you have fireworks. Very, very cool. Here's one for scale. You can see this woman in the ground here, and then you can kind of see how that doesn't even fit into the frame. I mean, that is just a huge castle / cathedral, whatever you would want to call it. That is incredible. All right, and final suggestion was any of these, I think it's Hundvoser House, which are in Vienna, Austria. Let's take a look at these. I've never heard of these either. Oh my goodness, what? That looks like something out of a book. Like a storybook. Is this real? Wow. So this guy was very creative. And it showed. He's like, conventional houses? Yep, throw those blueprints out the window. I'm going all out. These are incredible. These look like they're out of like a storybook or a kid's book or something. How cool. Wow, they're like, yeah, watercolor painting. That's a great way to describe it. Look at these. Oh my goodness. I would really be interested to see, again, in the comments, if you've, like, do people actually live here, or is it like a museum? Anything you know about it, go ahead and let me know. And then, of course, if you've actually had to, you know, if you've gotten to see these up close, maybe even go inside. What are they like inside? I can't seem to find inside, although maybe right here. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, they're equally interesting inside. Wow. Okay, so that's a look at some awesome comments. I appreciate it as always. And, you know, as you know, especially lately, I try to feature awesome comments and suggestions in videos. So maybe you will see your comment in a future video. Let's go ahead and look at some more I found on some of the forums. I have Europe's first underwater restaurant, and this is going to be in Norway. I don't know what it's called. It doesn't actually say the name, but there is a picture of it. And again, that looks like otherworldly, something out of a movie. This one's equally impressive on, you know, the whole, how did they build that? Just because it's literally underwater. How'd they build that? Imagine there's some very careful engineering involved with this because, well, having people dine in an underwater restaurant isn't exactly the most common and, you know, not the most easiest project to take on, I imagine. There's another angle of it. That is absolutely incredible. Like, if you see this from the side and you have no idea about anything in the area, you might see this and not even know that this is a restaurant. You might think it's like some, I don't know. That's not what I would think if I only saw it from this angle with no context. But then you look inside like this. That would be an experience. I don't know if this is Lindens or Lindesnes, Norway, but that's where it's at. Please let me know if you have been here. What was that experience like? I imagine that is just, yeah, a 1 in a million dinner you can have there. we get an unexpected, kind of weird, crazy American comment in the middle of this architecture video. Now, of course, you know I do videos on this type of thing on their own episodes. I had to throw this in there. I kind of was in disbelief. This American posted, wish Europe had more of this instead of excessive amounts of big buildings built for the church or monarch. Here's American architecture, guys. If you're not fully aware by now, this is literally a parking garage, or what some other countries might call a car park or whatever. You get the point. Multi-level of just parking spaces for cars. Of course, there's usually a stair or elevator to get down and then walk, across to the venue or whatever. Yeah, not exactly inspiring in my opinion, but that is American architecture that you can clearly identify across any city here, and they all look like this or some very slight variation of this. To say that Europe should have more of this is going on. I'm sorry, I don't agree. I don't think most people would agree. This person's either rage baiting or they're absolutely crazy. I think maybe a little bit of both. This is Milano Centrale, the largest railway station in Europe by volume. That's pretty interesting. Of course, this is in Milan, Italy. And once again, grand scale. Look at the people, look like almost ants down here compared to how tall that is. You can see it looks like some bicycles parked in front as well. Again, even the floor, even the ground leading up to it looks nice. But the fact, look at how this holds up, right? I know they do clean and maintain these, which I, greatly respect as well. But I mean, geez, what a face on this thing. Looks so strong, so, thick and well built. The columns, the designs, the arches up top. This is a great looking railway station. Railway station's not something you barely find, period, here in the US. And of course, you're not going to find many looking like this. There's a look inside. Of course, looks awesome. Wow. Really, really cool. Maybe you could only find stuff even somewhat resembling this. I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm saying for Americans trying to say, hey, we have that too. Maybe places like New York, I'm from Chicago. I don't really know of anything quite like this, but some of our big older cities might have some grand stuff like this, but this is pretty incredible and hard to copy. Then you have this on a smaller scale, a house built around a tree somewhere in Europe. It doesn't say where. It just says Europe. I don't know if an American posted this or what. But gotta love that, right? So if anyone has any idea where this is at, you're a legend. Although I don't know how you would find where this is at, considering all we have is a very narrow view of this area. And it's just a hill with trees. So good luck finding out where that is. But I'll say it's pretty interesting that this is a functional house that's literally like a canister around a tree. So it's kind of cool, but, not common, maybe not practical. One of those things that's probably an Airbnb nowadays or something. And of course, you gotta love the comments. Europe, the famous country. All right, this next one is absolutely stunning. We have the ruins of Speish, I believe it's pronounced. Speish Castle, originally built in the 12th century. Now one of the largest castle sites in Central Europe, located near the town of, let's see, did I get that right? Speišský Podhradí, Speiš, Eastern Slovakia. I probably totally butchered that. I know you're laughing at me. That's okay. Eastern Slovakia. Now, I think Slovakia is gorgeous from what I've seen, and this is no different. This is awesome. Look at that huge kind of property. It's right on a hilltop as well. Of course, the surrounding area looks nice, and you could see kind of like some small village back here. This thing is just grand. Once again, looks huge. And this type of thing, right? This is really what sets European countries apart. I could drive through Illinois and Indiana. I could drive through Ohio. Like, I'm not going to find this. These are some different angles of it, kind of like a rendering of what it looked like when it was newer. And then, of course, the ruins left behind. So that's pretty cool to see it kind of filled in. And here's another angle. Again, it just looks incredible. Really, really cool aesthetic. I was here last summer, not much going on inside the castle itself, fairly small inside, but walking up to it from town, the perimeter is massive. We have the St. Hubert Galleries in Brussels. Take a look at that shot. It looks awesome. Here we have one that looks maybe a little less beautiful, but kind of like beastly. Like this thing is brutal, like intimidating. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just different, right? Not like some of the cathedrals and stuff we've seen. This is the Battersea Power Station in London, England. I don't know why I didn't really think of a building looking tough. This building looks tough. I didn't realize that Pink Floyd wrote an album about this place, according to this comment. That is crazy. I mean, it's very, I imagine this might be iconic. Now, again, throwing in something a little different. This is Mysori Palace, rather, in southern India. Check out this. Again, safely say you can never find that here. I mean, some of these places in India, of course, would be very unique, and this is one of them. I mean, oh my goodness, this doesn't even look real. Again, I mean that as a compliment. I can't even comprehend how this is real. The colors, everything pops on this, right? The contrast, the floor even is incredible. It's just shiny and polished, and it really gives this place some extra depth from this angle. How do people come up with this and then actually build it, actually color it like that? Like, everything really comes together in this picture in some almost impossible way. I love it. It's so cool. Basically, my American mind can't comprehend this. Take a look at this interior shot of the law library of the new town hall in Munich. Again, look at the spiral staircase. I absolutely love those. Those are so kind of mystical, right? And not something you see every day. Yeah, this is cool. Not your average library, at least around here. I mean, you're literally in a place with books, but you feel like you're in a storybook here, at least if you ask me. Even the light fixtures, right? The flooring, the door, everything about this place is thought out and unique. Here we have another railway station, Mons railway station in Belgium. Again, like, how does this look that good? I love that railway stations are carefully designed and engineered in other countries. I guess like the ones near me are just kind of basic. They're nothing like this. This is really cool to see and would make the whole kind of experience of traveling on trains just that much more fun and interesting. Love the attention to detail on this. Like, clearly this is a more modern one, but even this modern architecture in Belgium is incredible. Now, apparently, people do like this design as well, but they do mention that it went extremely over budget and was delayed 10 years, and it's expensive to maintain. So that's kind of a shame to hear, right? But I guess at face value, you got to appreciate it does look awesome. But of course, at the same time, that's not fun to hear if it was a nightmare to get completed and cost a lot and took long. Now, talk about looking like something out of a movie and kind of intimidating as well, but yet beautiful. This is the Helsinki Central Railway Station in Finland. Crazy, like, big, strong guys here holding these lamps or orbs. Again, I probably sound like an idiot. I apologize, but I'm just looking at face value here. This thing looks really, really cool. The attention to detail on a railway station, I absolutely love it. Now, this is something I just can't wrap my head around either. This is, of course, in Amsterdam, and these are the canal homes. And as you could see, there is water. There's the house. And my American mind is like, wait, where's the sidewalk? Where's the grass? Where's the driveway? Where's the garage? This is about as different as you could get. But I like how these are all like tall and they're very unique. Like, each of them are different from each other. Some are a little narrower, some are a little wider. You have totally different color palettes, window designs, and everything. And it makes for this interesting aesthetic. They're all squished together. To be honest, this doesn't look like my cup of tea necessarily, although maybe if I spent like 6 months living here, I might end up liking it. I'm not exactly sure. But, you know, I tell you what, for picture's sake, it looks so cool. It's so unique, right? This does make you think Amsterdam, so the fact that it's got that sense of identity is really cool as well. My biggest concern, if I'm trying to nitpick, is always like when I first look at this, these lower floors don't seem to be that much above the water. How's that work, right? How do they mitigate flooding here? I feel like that would be a big concern. Here we have the Museum of the Future in Dubai. Now, of course, Dubai has some wild things. This fits the bill, right? This is very on brand. I don't even know what I'm looking at there, but of course, the intricate designs, it does look bigger than it may first appear just because you see the highway and the cars there to the side. They look very small. Wow. I don't know how this works necessarily when you're inside of it. Like, how's this space used on the inside, if at all? But I gave you the one thing, it's very unique. Now that is a palace. This is in Bucharest, Romania. And this just, if you think of a palace in your dreams or something, it might look like this. This has like kind of a perfect palace aesthetic. Look at the grand, handrails here, or the railings rather. The stairs, the carpet draped on it perfectly. The chandeliers, one after the other. Yeah, this is cool. And then we're going to end it with something a little different. Again, the Benchich building at Buenos Aires, Argentina. Architect Eduardo Lemoni in 1927. That is really, really cool. Again, look at the window game on this. The windows are top notch. And there's a lot of them, different sizes and shapes. This thing takes up this whole corner, right? As you can see the street down here. That is incredible. And I tell you what, Argentina and South America as a whole, even though I'm, right above South America here in North America, it seems to be closer than Europe or Australia or anywhere I kind of learned about on this channel. I don't actually know that much about it. So I'm pleased to see this. This is very, very cool. I have to do more of these, and I have to do them more than every 5 months. So I promise I will put out another episode of this very soon. I hope you guys like them. I mean, the last one did well, and I hope this one does also. These are fun because, look, there are a lot of cool things here, and there's pockets with awesome history here. There's awesome, buildings here and all that stuff. I think Chicago near me has a great skyline, at least for a modern, tall building type skyline. I really do admire it. But, seeing this kind of stuff that we saw today on here from different countries is just so cool. The history, the intricacies, some of the grand buildings that have this presence, right? I really love kind of soaking it all in because it's a lot of things that I never, ever get to see over here. And that's what makes the world go round. I love the differences. And, the fact that some people commute, maybe walking on foot by some of these buildings every day in Belgium or Germany or Italy or wherever. I just think it's fun. I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you watching, and I cannot wait to see your comments down below. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. I'll catch you later.